Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 1533, written by FiestaRaquel, the college student turned multiverse explorer. I'd walked home from a bar that was 5 doors away because I'd broken a heel on the shoes I was wearing. My plan was to get different shoes and go back because my roommate and friends were still there. I took the shoes off and jogged barefoot down the sidewalk because I was alone and it was just before 1 a.m. I placed one foot on my front step, reached into my jacket pocket to pull out my keys, and then I was standing in my living room. I dropped my keys on the floor because I was so startled. I hadn't even walked up the steps, much less unlocked the door and walked inside. All the lights were on and the movie Hitch was playing on the TV. It was a scene where he was walking and drinking liquid Benadryl from a straw. I still had my jacket and crossbody purse on, but the broken shoes I'd been carrying were on the floor, near a table that was against the wall furthest from the door. I was so confused it made me want to cry, which became even more overwhelming when I looked down and saw that I was wearing a pair of untied tennis shoes I'd never seen before. I pulled my cell phone out of my purse just as I got a call, and the ringtone was Rehab by Amy Winehouse, but had always just been a default tone and was almost always on silent. Before I could answer it, my roommate came in through the front door with 2 of our friends, asking me where I'd been and why I hadn't answered my phone. I couldn't even answer her. I was so freaked out. I just looked down at my phone and saw the notification that I had 9 missed calls and that it was 2:17 a.m. I had been gone for over an hour. I sat down on the couch and started crying. It took me at least 10 minutes to calm down enough to tell them what had happened, and they all kept telling me I was just drunk. I knew I wasn't drunk. I'd had 2 beers at the bar because I'd shown up late after working in the restaurant until almost 11:30. I never set the drinks down, so their other explanation that I may have been drugged wasn't possible. They told me I must have just forgotten I'd bought the shoes I was wearing, which seemed more ridiculous than having never seen them before. I've talked about that night in therapy, and I've tried to convince myself that it was all in my head, but I can't. There are things that I remember incorrectly from before that night. Memories I'm told didn't happen the way they exist in my mind or at all. People I think look different. Physical things that aren't right, like the knob on my dad's back door being on the opposite side. I rarely tell people about my experience, but recently I told a friend who has his PhD in theoretical physics and has known me since childhood. At no point did he offer an explanation or validation, but he did entertain my questions about ideas regarding the existence of other dimensions or timelines. He talked a lot about what we don't and can't know, as well as the existence of things that just can't be explained. Admittedly, he's way too smart, and a lot of what he said made absolutely no sense to me. Years and years later, I still feel almost haunted by that night. Case also file 1533. The college student turned multiverse explorer. It is pretty clear that this is a different universe, with the different shoes, the doorknob, other anomalies that just don't add up fit with what you're accustomed to remembering. Quantum immortality in a nutshell. But the time gap and disorientation? If you're the person that is being jumped into, you're just going about your day, and then there's a soul transfer process initiated because another you died in a different universe and their destination is the you in this universe. Would you feel it? How would that process go? Maybe there would be a sort of dissociation with reality for a brief period of time, because you're trying to fuse 2 souls together, or maybe 1 soul, but that was separated and has to be recombined. And maybe this process is difficult on the conscious mind. So you kind of blank out, you lose track of time, maybe time itself slows down, or all kinds of anomalies in perception could apply when this happens. But that's just an idea. Makes some sense though. Case file number 1534, written by asianforaday. Past lives and present fears. The first part of this story is retold by my sister and mom. I once awoke during the night screaming incomprehensibly when I was 3 years old. My mom and sister were sleeping soundly at the time, and my dad was out of town on a business trip. Upon hearing me, they rushed into my bedroom, worried about what was going on. From their description, the sight in my room was unsettling, to say the least. I was sitting upright in my bed, hands shielding my head and face as if people were beating me, back pressed against the wall, and previously mentioned, screaming. There was something very notable about what I was screaming though. It wasn't English. It was an Oriental tongue, as they later put it, and very convincing at that. They proceeded to attempt and wake me up and detrance me, although, no matter how hard they tried, nothing worked. In time, I calmed down. Come next day, I tell my present family about this dream I had that felt exactly like real life. I was in an ancient, distant land where the people were smaller, tanner, with funny-looking eyes, and where everything was just different. I told them I was to be prosecuted. Quoted words were supposedly verbatim, for my beliefs, that I was a hermit living on the side of a mountain after being chased from my village, and that this man, who I was in my previous life, desired for me to ensure the survival of his legacy, whatever that was. The only reason I remotely believe this story is because of how I came to hear it years later. Fast forward to the 2nd grade. I arrive home one day with a massive stack of books, every single one of them having to do with Japan, which, since the day I actually learned of it, has held a very odd allure about it to me. And before this story is a weeaboo's wet dream, I am no weeaboo. I vividly recall walking into our old home, eager to share about this strange, intriguing land with my family. The very moment I mentioned my new interest, my mom appeared to have died. Her entire body went pale, mouth suddenly agape, eyes wide, muscles tense. Seeing her like that left me with the impression I was in big trouble. But after gathering herself and reassuring me I had done nothing wrong, she fetched my sister and they retold me the tale of the night I turned Japanese or got possessed. Case file 5934. Past lives and present fears. So I don't know if this is actually a past life, but I do think you pulled information from the tapestry of time, so to say. The future is in flux and there's so many possible futures, but the past, at least for any given one universe, is concrete. It's already done. It's already written. So you could think of it as a movie, and if you're able to peer back in that tapestry of time to glance at whatever you want, in this case it's not actually consciously willed, it's just something that your subconscious pulled a thread of. Maybe it was random, maybe it pulled it for some reason, maybe some other force shoved it into your mind. I don't know why, that would be pure speculation, but I do think you're just pulling from information from events that already happened. It probably really did happen. I don't think it's necessarily related to you, like you're a reincarnated soul or anything like that. Maybe, but that's not my gut impression. I think it's just information, and information goes a long way. Now time for the joke of the day. How does the ocean say hi? It waves. Bye.